Ethiopian ruling party wins elections overwhelmingly. Regional militant groups reject results. The party of incumbent Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has achieved a major victory in the parliamentary elections, which seems to assure Abiy of a new term. However, millions of people remained excluded from the vote, which is not recognized by regional militant groups. The National Electoral Council announced on Sunday that Abiy's Welfare Party has won about 90% of the electable parliamentary seats. The party campaigned primarily on the significant economic progress made in recent years. However, critics point to a serious decline in press freedom and democracy and the continuation of regional uprisings. The result is anything but surprising. The Ethiopian opposition is very weak, and not a single opposition party has nationwide coverage. Although more than 40 parties participated in the parliamentary elections, no challenger to the Welfare Party candidate appeared on the ballot in more than 60 constituencies. Because Parliament elects the Prime Minister, it is almost certain that Abiy can begin his next term in October. Upon casting his vote, Abiy already announced that the next 5 years will be a period of historic turning points for Ethiopia. Analysts fear that he plans to consolidate more power and continue to brutally suppress opposition, thereby risking a larger conflict. Centralization policy. The unrest in the country was clearly visible during the vote on June 1st. In the two regions with by far the largest populations, Amhara and Oromia, 143 polling stations remained closed due to security concerns. The Fano militias and the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, have been fighting the government army there for years, resulting in thousands of deaths and hundreds of thousands of refugees. Ethiopia has an estimated 130 million inhabitants and more than 80 different ethnic groups. Previously, the largest groups enjoyed a considerable degree of autonomy in their own regions, but Abiy's policy of national unity is attempting to put an end to this. The Fano militias and the OLA each fight for a different ethnic group, but both feel cornered by this policy of centralization. The Fano militias and the OLA have rejected the election results. Several political parties in these regions also state that they do not support the elections and only participated to avoid losing their registration as a political party. It is prohibited to boycott 2 consecutive elections. No elections in Tigray. The northern region of Tigray was even completely excluded from the elections due to unfavorable circumstances. Between 2020 and 2022, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, and the Federal Army fought a terrible war that cost at least 600,000 lives. However, the underlying problems have not been resolved, and since the government banned the TPLF as a political party a year ago, tensions are rising rapidly again. Shortly before the election, the TPLF decided to sideline the government-appointed regional government and restore the pre-war government. There are also reports that the TPLF is recruiting young fighters, suggesting the movement is preparing for new fighting. There is no question of mediation. The National Army has largely encircled Tigray and is continuing to build up its troops. Sudan Army launches offensive near Ethiopian border, captures rebel stronghold. The Sudanese Army launched a large-scale clearing operation on Tuesday in the Gaisan district of the Blue Nile region, capturing a key rebel stronghold near the Ethiopian border, military officials said. The operation, carried out by the 13th Infantry Brigade of the 4th Infantry Division, targeted areas extending past Abu Dugla and Ashambo, located just 1 kilometer from the international border. Government forces stormed and seized control of the Albar area, a major outpost for the Sudan People's Liberation Movement North, SPLMN, faction led by Joseph Tuka. Battles have intensified in the strategic border districts of Kermuk and Gaisan, where the Sudanese army is fighting a coalition consisting of the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, and the SPLMN. Sudan has accused Ethiopia of providing logistical support to the alliance in the Blue Nile region. Military sources told Sudan Tribune that army troops and allied forces would continue to pursue the rebels and clear the region up to the international border with Ethiopia. The army statement added that the operation resulted in the capture of several rebel fighters and the seizure of weapons and military equipment. The military offensive aims to blunt rebel movements toward Geissen and recapture the strategic border town of Kermik, which has been controlled by the joint RSF and SPLMN forces since March. Kermik and Geissen are located roughly 150 kilometers and 200 kilometers southeast of Ed-Damazin, respectively, with about 100 kilometers separating the two border towns. The area has a long history of conflict, having served as a major battleground for 22 years during the civil war between Khartoum and the late John Garang's Sudan People's Liberation Army, before a peace deal was struck in 2005. Eritrean Diaspora nationals commemorate Martyrs' Day. Nationals residing in various cities in Switzerland, the UK and Ireland, Qatar, and the US commemorated Martyrs' Day with patriotic zeal, featuring various programs depicting the deep meaning of the day. According to the Eritrean Embassy in Switzerland, nationals residing in 26 cantons in Switzerland commemorated Martyrs' Day with candlelight vigils, walkathons, and cultural and artistic presentations. At the event organized in Geneva, in which Ms. Sophia Tesfamariam, Eritrea's ambassador to the United Nations, took part, Mr. Habtem Zeri, charge d'affaires at the Eritrean Embassy in Switzerland and Eritrea's permanent representative to the UN and other international organizations in Geneva, noting the historical significance of Martyrs' Day, said that the day is a reminder for Eritreans to renew their pledge to play their due part in national affairs. The chairpersons of every canton, on their part, explaining the deep meaning of Martyrs' Day for the Eritrean people, called for reinforced contribution in supporting families of martyrs. The commemoration event in London featured a walkathon program led by the youth, candlelight vigil, and cultural presentations. Mr. Salah Abdullah, charge d'affaires at the Eritrean Embassy in the UK and Ireland, underlining the bitter and severe stages that the Eritrean people had to go through to ensure independence and safeguard national sovereignty, called on nationals in the UK and Ireland to strengthen contribution to augment the National Martyrs Trust Fund and support families of martyrs. Similarly, Martyrs' Day was commemorated with pride in the UK cities of Sheffield, Leicester City, Nottingham, Coventry, Bristol, Cardiff, Wakefield, Middlesbrough, Southampton, Milton, Glasgow, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, and Brighton. At the events, the nationals contributed £25,357 towards augmenting the National Martyrs Trust Fund. At the commemorative event organized by Eritrean nationals in Qatar on June 19th, 17,200 rials was contributed in support of families of martyrs. The program, in which Mr. Ali Ibrahim, Eritrea's ambassador to Qatar, took part, featured candlelight vigil as well as cultural performances reflecting the day. Likewise, at a program Eritrean nationals residing in Chicago, U.S., organized to commemorate Martyrs' Day, they expressed conviction to live up to the expectations of martyrs. The nationals also assumed the responsibility to support 35 families of martyrs for 2 years. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Ethio-Eritrea Index channel.